My name is Alexis Nanthanong, and this is my presentation on psychoanalysis throughout the 20th century. This is my summary on Gail A. Hornstein's article on the Return of the Repressed, Psychology's Problematic Relations with Psychoanalysis. This article examines the complex and often contentious relationship between psychology and psychoanalysis during the first half of the 20th century. Hornstein argues that while psychoanalysis was initially embraced by many psychologists in the early 1900s, by the 1920s and 1930s, a growing number of psychologists began to criticize and distance themselves from the discipline. The article argues that the rise of behaviorism as a dominant paradigm in psychology, as well as increasing influence of medical psychiatry, played a significant role in distancing of many psychologists from psychoanalysis. Hornstein traces the origins of this split to a number of factors, including the rise of behaviorism, as mentioned before, as a dominant paradigm in psychology, which emphasized observable behaviors and rejected the unscientific nature of psychoanalysis. The increasing influence of medical psychiatry and the development of new forms of psychotherapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, and the growing sense that psychoanalysis was overly deterministic and reductionistic in its approach to human behavior. This highlights the way that dominant paradigms and disciplinary boundaries can shape the way that mental illness is understood and treated. Despite the criticisms leveled at psychoanalysis during this period, the article argues that it continued to exert a powerful influence on psychology throughout the first half of the 20th century. This suggests that while psychological theories and practices may shift over time, they are often deeply rooted in historical and cultural contexts. She also notes that many of the tensions and debates between psychology and psychoanalysis during this period continue to shape contemporary discussions about the nature of psychological theory and practice. So, despite its marginalization in academic psychology, psychoanalysis continued to shape research on the psychological impact of trauma and to influence new forms of therapy. Here are my references, and thank you for listening.